Rage, resentment, regret, these are all the emotions that Falcons fans felt last night in that 20-10 defeat against the San Francisco 49ers. But in this video, I'm going to tell you the brutally honest truth behind the Atlanta Falcons loss to the 49ers. Now, in this video, I'm not going to sit here and just bash the Falcons, talking about how terrible they are, how terrible the coach are, how terrible the quarterback is. No, I'm not going to do that. There's a lot of that going on. That's fair. That's justified, to be completely honest. But I'm not going to do that in this video. I'm going to tell you the brutally honest truth, both good and bad, of what happened yesterday for the Falcons and what this means for them going forward. Now, I'm going to do this by telling you this in 4 themes. The first of those 4 themes is the fact of the matter is that the Falcons are the better team. And this is a theme that's been throughout the season. And I think this is the reason why these losses are very, very frustrating, not only for fans, but for the organization. The Falcons on paper are the better team. You take away Christian McCaffrey, which I know you can't pick and choose players from different teams and just take them away. But for this argument, you take them off the team. The Falcons have a better team than the 49ers in pretty much every position. Other than like offensive tackles and maybe offensive guard play, the Falcons were the better team all throughout. And there were matchups the Atlanta Falcons had that they should have been winning all throughout the game, but they simply didn't. And this goes back to even larger, you look at it from a larger perspective, the Atlanta Falcons have been the better team 4 out of the 6 games they played. So people can argue Tampa Bay was better. People can argue that the Buffalo Bills were better. And the fact of the matter is that they are 3-3 at this point, when they clearly should be winning 4, 5, 6 games at this point, is very frustrating. And I think that's the biggest theme of the night. The Atlanta Falcons, prime time, came out looking like the better team, but found a way to lose. They were the better team. Now, I didn't say they were the better coach team, and I didn't say they were the better prepared team. But on paper, from athletes, players, skill set, they were the better team. Now, this leads me to my second point, which I think is being underrated at this point. The Falcons had one less day prepared for this game, and I think that this shortened week truly impacted the way they played. Now, there's going to be people out there wondering, all right, what are you talking about shortened week? For those who don't know, the Atlanta Falcons played on Monday Night Football. The San Francisco 49ers played on Sunday night. Therefore, the Atlanta Falcons have a built-in one less day to prepare for this game. I think that's made an impact in 3 ways. The Falcons had one less day to prepare, and that showed. The San Francisco 49ers had one more day to prepare, and that showed. And from a physicality perspective, the Atlanta Falcons looked outmatched, and I'll explain that a little later. When I'm talking about the Atlanta Falcons had one less day to prepare, it showed because San Francisco came out and they ran a different set, and the Atlanta Falcons didn't look prepared. It also showed because the Atlanta Falcons had a lot of player on the field penalties, 12 men on the field, 10 men on the field penalties. They had a lot of penalties. It just didn't look like they were as prepared. Now, you reverse that. 49ers were extremely prepared. Offense, they ran a new gap scheme, blew them out the water because the Atlanta Falcons weren't prepared for it. Defense, they basically blitzed. They ran a lot of twists and stunts that the Atlanta Falcons weren't prepared for, blew them out the water. We also saw on that big-time 4th-and-1 stop against Drake London, the player came out and said, oh, yeah, our coach showed us that in practice. And when he motioned out, I was ready for it. They were more prepared for the Atlanta Falcons. But I also want to talk about this physicality point regarding the shortened week. Now, for those who don't know, you have one less day of practice on a shortened week. Essentially, you give up or you forego one less physical practice. Now, this is huge because the Atlanta Falcons were way less physical than the 49ers. The 49ers pretty much beat up on the Falcons in every phase of the game. Offensive line looked weak for the Atlanta Falcons, giving up the most pressure they have this season. Defense couldn't stop a soul. Christian McCaffrey ran for whatever he wanted to. You got to think, even blitz pickup. Bijan Robinson, I think, had an 8 Pro Football Focus grade because he was getting blasted. The San Francisco 49ers were the way more physical team, and I think it has to do with the Atlanta Falcons having one less day of padded practice. In order to be physical, you have to rep physical. You have to rep plays. You have to rep tackling. And when you lose that, you kind of get a little bit of, not get rusty, but you lose that edge. And I think that edge is what was the difference between a physical game for the 49ers and a not so physical game for the 49ers. I mean, we saw Tyler Algier get smacked and he got injured. I mean, they were just way more physical than the Falcons. And I think it had a lot to do with them being prepared and seeing ball and hitting, but it also had to do with the Falcons had one less day to rep being physical. And therefore, they were a little less physical, if that makes sense. Third big point, third big theme, injuries suck. Divine Diablo went out. I'm not saying if Divine Diablo played that entire game, the Falcons would have won, but I think they would have had a better chance. Also, we saw the big injury to Jalen Walker. No one's going to really talk about that, but he is a big run stopper in this defense, and him being out. I'm not saying that Christian McCaffrey wouldn't have gone for 100 and whatever, 70, but I think it would have helped out a little bit. And so injuries suck. We're going to monitor Divine Diablo. Apparently he's going to be out. He's day-to-day, but I think he's going to be out for 3, 4, 5 weeks with a fractured forearm. So we're going to see how we bounce back, but injuries do suck. Now this leads me to my last point of the whole thing, the brutally honest truth about the Atlanta Falcons team right now. And a lot of people won't like this. A lot of people will say, you might be right. At the end of the day, the Atlanta Falcons are 3-3. And that's not that bad. I'm going to be completely honest. If you sit here and ask 100% of Falcons fans at the start of the season, after this 6-game stretch, the Atlanta Falcons are 3-3, would you take that? 98% of them will say, yes, let's ride. We're going to make it to the playoffs. Now, it's been uglier getting to that point. A lot of these games are showing the cracks in the Falcons' armor, so to speak, and it's just been super frustrating. But at the end of the day, the Atlanta Falcons are 3-3. Now, I hear everyone calling for Raheem Morris, Zach Robinson's job, and that's very valid and very fair. But I think there is a reaction to the loss more than the reaction to the coaches being terrible. And I think that if you think Zach Robinson and Raheem Morris is terrible, that's 100% justified. But I think we need to take away the loss while we're evaluating things going forward, so to speak. So regardless of how you feel about this organization and staff, they're still 3-3, and this team is still 3-3 with a very good chance of making the playoffs. All they have to do is win 7 or 8 more games on a schedule that is very favorable for them going forward. So that's the brutally honest truth. You may like it, you may not like it. It is what it is. But if you enjoyed this video, please do me a favor, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. And if you want to see more videos like this, check this one out right here. And I go